Hello, everybody. First of all, thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I think this is it's been a really good occasion, and I think some of the speakers have been quite inspirational earlier on. I just want to maybe take the time here to explain a little bit about First Derivatives and what we do, because sometimes to the the layperson it can be a bit mysterious as to what actually we do. So have I got some control over this? No, I don't know how to use this. Anyway, so who are First Derivatives? Well, First Derivatives, we're based in Newry, County Down, but we have offices in Dublin and Belfast. We have operations all over the world. Our customer base is in the capital markets, and that is banks, hedge funds, exchanges, regulators, and in some cases insurance companies. We work for some of the biggest banks in the world. So among the people we work for are Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, UBS, JP Morgan, BNP Paribas. We have customers in Tokyo, we have customers in Singapore, we have customers in Hong Kong, Sydney, Canada, and in recent months we've been undertaking activities in places like the Democratic Republic of Congo, like Rwanda, Burundi, and in Chile and in Mexico. So we are providing our services and our software all over the world. And the key differentiator for us is that we have both technical knowledge and domain expertise. And what I mean by domain expertise is that we understand the workings of the capital markets. And I think for us to grow to, that's actually a little bit out of date, we've got about 900 employees, the vast majority of whom are from this part of the world. So we recruit heavily. This summer we recruited about 100 people, I believe, and we're still looking out for more people. And that's a testimony to the growth of our business and the opportunity we see, and the fact that we continue to recruit heavily from this island, because I think we have the caliber of people here to actually deliver these products and services throughout the world. In terms of our employee growth, this gives you an indication of how we've grown over the years. And I think that slide's wrong, because it was actually one person. I started it in June 2006. Sorry, that's wrong. June 1996 I started the company. And the idea came from myself working in London. I worked with Morgan Stanley, and I was initially in risk management, and I was a trader in interest rate derivatives. But I looked around the people that were working with me, and I thought, we could do this from Northern Ireland, or in my case from Newry, that the way the technology is moving, and that was in the early days of the internet, what we do could be delivered from Northern Ireland. So I took the plunge, came back, spoke to Invest NI, got a grant, and our first job was in Leipzig in the former East Germany. And I hired a guy who had the misfortune of being sent out to East Germany with 1 week's training, who hadn't programmed in his life before, and who was tasked with supporting an interest rate derivative system. And that sounds a bit apocalyptic, but I think that's how the company grew, by having people with that academic background, a can-do attitude, and a bit of ability to get up the curve very quickly in terms of learning how things are done. And that pattern continues to repeat itself. In terms of, if we look again at our customer base, sometimes I look at it and say, this is absolutely ridiculous. Why would a bank in Singapore or Tokyo hire someone from Newry in Northern Ireland to go and work on site with them, given the population of Asia? What is it that we have that's so different to the local experts, or experts from London or New York? What is something that we have that they can't get themselves? And I believe it's a combination of factors which is key, is I think exclusive to this part of the world in many respects. I think number one, obviously the type of people we recruit are high academic achievers, but because of our educational system, I think we overachieve in that area. We have a very good educational system in terms of the feeder schools and the local universities, and the quality of the degrees they provide. They're very sort of focused on delivering people who've got the right skill sets for industry to take and deploy very quickly. But I think more importantly, it is the can-do attitude. that, give us a problem, give us a challenge, and we'll try and do it. We won't try and put obstacles in the way. We'll take the challenge and try and deliver on it. And I think a third factor, which is it's pretty ironic, is we get on with everybody else in the whole world except ourselves. But we have people working with Russian quants, with Chinese programmers, with the great and the good of Wall Street, with Hoover Henrys in the City of London. No matter who we work with, we establish some sort of a rapport and a bond, and that's something which is you can't get that everywhere. I don't want to slag off any particular nationalities, but not every nationality has that quality to go into an unusual situation or an unfamiliar situation and establish not only your professional credibility and your skills, but also to quickly establish that bond with the people you're working with, and to become part of their team very, very quickly. And I think that's something which you shouldn't underestimate, that we get that on a regular basis, the feedback that it's the can-do attitude, it's obviously the underlying quality of the people, and the fact that in the scheme of things, we're nice people. And that is part of the reason why we're able to service these organizations throughout the world. But also, I think, in keeping with the theme today, one of the reasons why we can do that is because of the way the technology has moved, that with the internet, the cloud, and all the other innovations and developments in technology, we can operate from here. And there's been some great examples earlier on. I'm a keen cyclist. I'm not very good at it. I always come last, but at least I try. But chain reaction, the cycle organisation, that's absolutely mind-boggling, that from near Ballymoney or Mollusk or whatever, that is the biggest organisation in the world, or the biggest company in the world in terms of cycling. That's just phenomenal when you think that the heart of cycling is in France and Italy and Spain, that a company from somewhere with absolutely no pedigree in cycling, maybe motorbiking, but not cycling, is able to dominate the world market from this base here using the latest technology. And I think I'm going to show you an example of the sort of things we do, but we were a consulting company up until about 5 years ago, and then we decided that with all the work we're doing for these major organizations throughout the world, we can take some of that knowledge, bring it back here and build our own products. And I suppose part of the inspiration for that would have been the success of Wombat, who were subsequently bought by NICE Technologies, and a large number of their people are still with NICE Technologies. Actually, we have some of them now as well. We didn't poach them, they just came on their own behalf. So part of the inspiration for us to be a product company was the success of Wombat and what they achieved from, effectively, Wombat was based out of, I think, Utah or Arizona or somewhere like that. And Danny Moore, who was incidentally one of our employees, went to work with Wombat, brought the engineering back here, and made a great success of it. And we've followed a similar pattern. We've taken our experience and our know-how from working with these organizations, brought it back to Belfast and a little bit in Dublin and a little bit in Europe, but mostly in Belfast, and built what we believe is world-class technology. Our technology is, in my belief, and it's measured independently by bodies such as Stack, our technology has 15 of the 17 benchmarks for the fastest time series database. And it's the development that is done here. And I think it's quite amazing that practically every piece of financial data whizzing around the world actually has been touched by someone in Belfast, between Wombat, between NICE Technologies and us. Vast amounts of data is being transported on the basis of programs that were developed here in this city. And I think, it's probably not something which is in the public domain, but it's absolutely incredible that Belfast is effectively the market data capital of the world in terms of the know-how here, the expertise, and the commercial exploitation of that expertise, which, as I say, is used by practically every serious financial firm in the world in terms of collecting market data and generating signals and making trading decisions on the back of that. So as I say, there is something unique about this part of the world in terms of the talent pool available. And in fairness to Invest and they've managed to attract some very large companies here on the back of the talent pool available, including, obviously, NICE Technologies. And that's something we have to bear in mind collectively, and I know there's some people here who are younger or whatever, and we have to bear in mind that to continue with that success story, we have to invest in the future in terms of persuading younger people to take up technology-type subjects. And I think that's incumbent upon, the public bodies here, Invest NI, the educational system, universities, to encourage us to go down that route, because, the success we're having and the success NICE Technologies are having, and organizations like Liberty or whatever, there is a bit of a skills shortage here. We have, as I said, employed about 100 people this summer, and we can't get enough people with the right skills. We invest very heavily in training. We take people from various disciplines. Generally, we look for mathematical disciplines, people with engineering, maths, physics, hopefully computer science. They're very hard to get. We take those people in and we train them in the skills they need to operate in our market. But I think we do need to keep an eye on the fact that Invest NI has been very successful in attracting these organizations in, and we need to keep an eye and keep building the number of people available to work with these organizations. So I guess I'm rambling on a bit, but I think it's important to emphasize that that Belfast is the market data capital of the world, and to me, that's absolutely incredible given where the organizations that use the data are based. There's very few of them actually based in Belfast. They're in London, they're in New York, they're in Tokyo, but as I say, we are the leaders in that part of technology. So in terms of our market has been, characterized by major upheavals in the last 5 years. Everybody's been affected by the credit crunch or the financial crisis, and there's a lot of trends have emerged that we have to try and anticipate. And in terms of our software, where's our software targeted at? Well, the global trends we're dealing with are the areas of regulation and compliance, with the growth in foreign exchange volumes, and a topic you'll hear more and more about, an area called big data. So big data is a very clever marketing term used to describe the fact that the world is awash with data, especially with the advent of social media. You can see graphs where 90% of the data generated in the world is in the last 6 months or whatever, and that's just going to continue to grow. And the difference in the data that's being generated now is the fact that it's not as structured as it used to be. And what do we mean by structured? Well, I'll not bore you with the technical details, but essentially it means that the data is very ordered in columns and rows, that it's relatively easy to map and relatively easy to mine and relatively easy to query. But with the advent of social media, with Twitters and blogs and emails and text messages, means that data is unstructured, that you don't know how long it's going to be, you don't know how many characters it's going to be, you don't know if it's going to be real English or it's going to be garbage, LOL or whatever. And it's very difficult to mine that data or do anything with it. So big data is about not only the volume of data, but the veracity of the data and trying to make sense of data which can generate for commercial organizations benefit. So or for security organizations, they can see what you're up to, but that's a different story. The mining of that data and the access of that data is what big data is all about, because if people can take that data and do something useful with it, they can really derive benefit for themselves. And we've seen some examples earlier. Anyway, so big data is an area you'll hear more about, and I'm going to give an example of how we're using structured and unstructured data together to solve a very real problem for a very large organization. So again, our market is fast moving. 5 years ago, it was all about making money, going into new territories, opening up offices everywhere for banks. Now it's about retrenchment, repairing the capital base, and battening down the hatches and trying to get their house in order. So that's why the money's being spent on regulation and in terms of outsourcing cost control. a lot of the banks are looking at shared services in terms of, a lot of the data we collect, it's like electricity. We all collect the same data. The London Stock Exchange or the New York Stock Exchange produces, the price of Microsoft, which changes 100 times every second. And JP Morgan collects it, Deutsche Bank collects it, the Bank of America collects it. It's all the same data. It's the same as electricity. You gain no competitive advantage by collecting this data relative to your competitor. What you do with the data is where you have the competitive advantage. So there is a trend in our industry towards sharing these services, and that's something which, in terms of the cost control, that helps to bring down costs, and it's something where, it's a sort of an area we're working on. The other area is outsourcing, which typically has gone to places like India and Ukraine, and there's a backlash against that because, I think we've all been had phone calls in the middle of the night from someone trying to sell you something. And there's a backlash against that type of putting services out to places like India and Ukraine where they're in a different time zone, and that's no slight on the people who work there, because I'm sure they're all very nice people and very clever people, but just for some certain things it doesn't work. And we're promoting our services in Northern Ireland as an outsourced centre for very high-value services. And one of the things you managed to achieve is we want to deal with one of the largest investment banks in the world, based in New York, to set up a centre of excellence in Uri. And we have about 25 people working in that. So again, it's back to the quality of the service we provide. We're up the value chain relative to some of these other outsourced places, and we're benefiting from that trend. So we're providing a service to our customer which involves cost control, but maintaining the same level of service. So to put someone in an office in Uri to provide a similar service to someone sitting in an office in downtown Manhattan is a hell of a lot cheaper, but we still maintain the quality of that service. But the only reason why we can do it is back to this digital economy, that we have a dedicated lease line from Wall Street right underneath the Atlantic, which pops up in Canal Street in Uri and goes into our offices. And we have 25 people servicing Morgan Stanley's market data and reference data backbone throughout the world globally. So there are probably 5,000, 10,000 people in that bank on a 24-hour basis consuming data and services which is supported and enhanced from our offices in Uri due to progress in technology. So technology trends and trends in our industry are benefiting us here in Northern Ireland in terms of us being able to provide services and technology from what is, from our market, a remote base. And I think that's only going to continue. We're marketing these services heavily, and we're getting a lot of success because we have the quality of the resources, and we're not screwing anybody over. We're paying people very good wages, but because of the cost base, we're obviously much lower cost than the equivalent people in London and New York. So, I'm going to talk about one of the software projects we're working on. We signed a deal at the end of last year with the Australian regulator called ASIC to use our product Delta Stream in a surveillance capacity. Now that sounds all very dry, but let me talk you through it. The product has been developed here, largely in Belfast over the last 3 or 4 years. The product is based around dealing with high volumes of data and high speed. So taking large bursts of data, making sense of that and putting it into a database or processing it otherwise. So we're literally talking about millions of updates a second, translating into billions of updates a day, translating into trillions over the course of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, translating into rack upon rack of servers to store that data. And it's just absolutely mind-boggling if you're to translate those numbers into real terms, and I can't do it. It's like, think of the grains of sand on a beach, and you're still not even there in terms of the amount of data that we would consume and store on a daily basis. So what the Australian regulator is tasked with is making sure that there's an orderly market on the exchanges in Australia. So think of like the London Stock Exchange in the UK or the New York Stock Exchange in the US. There are various exchanges in Australia around equities, around commodities, for example, mining stocks or zinc or copper, and derivatives thereof. So There are 7 markets in total, and the regulator is tasked with making sure that there's an orderly market underway or in flight on those exchanges. And what do we mean by an orderly market? Well, there's a number of different things which contribute to a market not being orderly. And one of them is insider trading. So Gordon Gekko, you remember that movie, what was it called? Wall Street, yeah. Through the gullible Charlie Sheen and his trade union father, Martin Sheen, he was able to gain insider information about Blue Star Jets, I think the organization was called, and he was able to make a fortune because he had that inside information before anyone else, and buy the stock and then sell it, or whatever he did. I couldn't understand myself. Anyway, he made a load of money, but that was because he had inside information. And that's a form of market abuse, because for an orderly public market, everyone should have the same information available to them. So us as a public company, when we have something which has a material impact on our share price, we're supposed to make an announcement. So if someone hears something and triggers orders on the exchanges which indicate that there's something unusual happening here, that is a signal that there's insider trading. So let's say a stock, there's 100,000 traded on a daily basis on average, and then suddenly there's 1 million traded in the last 15 seconds. That's an indication there's something unusual here. So the system that we've implemented for the regulator, covering 7 different exchanges, covering millions upon millions of quotes on a daily basis, our software is able to help them indicate that there's something unusual happening. And insider trading, it's very intuitive. You can understand what it means, that if you hear someone's just won a big deal, or the CEO is about to resign, it might be buy signal, sell signal, and if you hear that before everybody else hears it, you've got an advantage, and that's there to cut it out. So with our software and the signals and alerts in place, we should be able to stop this type of guy from manipulating the market. And that's relatively straightforward, because the orders come, you put an order in to buy 100 and then another order to buy, and it's quite slow. But what is very fast, and what's also quite frightening for the financial markets worldwide, is things like an event that happened in the US in 2010. Within a period of 5 minutes, the market fell 6%, which is just ridiculous, because the Dow Jones Industrial Average is a basket of, I don't know how many, it's maybe 200 or 300 stocks. So no matter what's happening, somebody's going to be doing well, somebody's going to be losing. So it should fluctuate up and down, but not by 6% in whatever, 5 minutes. And for a system to be able to anticipate or to actually look at that and see there's something wrong, it has to be very, very fast, especially in the era of high-frequency program trading. You've heard of these robot computers which trade stocks without anybody intervening or whatever. So what tends to happen in these flash crashes is that someone puts in a program, if the index falls by 1%, sell everything. So it's almost like a wave of panic, electronic panic around the world, that something falls 1%, a load of programs kick in and sell everything, and then it falls another percent, and then that triggers more program trades. So before anybody can even realize what's going on, the market just plummets. And that's not good, because that takes away confidence in the markets. And what we do is we basically help the exchanges in the markets to anticipate these sort of events. So when we talk about volume and velocity, this is it in real life. This is what it means in practice. And just bear in mind, this is the Australian regulator, based in Sydney, is using software developed in Belfast to keep order on the Australian market. And I think that's mind-boggling, that the company we were up against, and I think Nazi Technology would be pleased to hear this, was NASDAQ had their own software in there, and we displaced them. And again, just pondering that NASDAQ is one of the biggest exchanges in the world. They developed their own technology. We displaced them in Sydney, and I think that is testimony to the talent we have available here and the expertise that we can compete on the world stage against someone of the size and caliber of NASDAQ. So again, that would not be possible without the digital economy because we have data centers in Sydney and Adelaide which run this software, and we're able to manage and to control the support and the enhancement and the feature upgrades largely from here. We have some people on the ground in Sydney, but we're able to do that from here. And again, that would not be possible without advances in technology. Anyway, so we have aspirations to grow this ecosystem in terms of getting this product into banks and into other exchanges. But again, if we manage to achieve this ecosystem vision, it will all be done from here. And I think, I'm not going to say much more, but I think it's worthwhile reflecting on where we are. We're in the Titanic, and I think Northern Ireland has always punched above its weight in manufacturing 100 or 150 years ago. That the flax and linen and the precision engineering and shipbuilding and all those industries were run out of Northern Ireland, way punching above their weight on the world stage. And I think in terms of what's happening here on the technology side and the market data side in particular, we're punching way above our weight. And I think there may be some heritage from the precision engineering side that we have those skills in terms of being able to work and to produce what in our terms are things of beauty, a software program that works in Australia, keeping an orderly market on the other side of the world. And I think I'm not going to say much more. Okay, thank you.